welcome to In Bed with Brooke, episode 11. So episode 10, we finished up chapter 4, so now we're going to start with chapter 5. Alex rolled over and looked at the clock. 2:30 a.m. She let out a soft groan as she sat up. Damn, she muttered. She couldn't sleep. She hated it when this happened. There was no specific stress in her life currently, so she couldn't understand why she wasn't sleeping. Her day was free tomorrow, so if there was a time for insomnia to hit, this was perfect, so she could spend the day in bed. Silver linings, she thought. Sighing, she got out of bed, went into the living room, and turned on the lights. Slater wasn't there, and he hadn't been seen in a few days. Turning on the TV for background noise and doing what she liked to do on nights like this when sleep was elusive, she poured a glass of wine and set it on the coffee table. She walked to the shelf in the corner of the living room and grabbed a stack of photo albums along with her high school yearbook and set them next to the wine. Walking back over to the shelf and doing something she rarely did, she picked up her grandmother's Academy Award and brought it to the table with her. She always felt slightly breathless when holding it. It was heavy and shiny, and sometimes she got lost in looking at it, running her fingers over the inscription and imagining what it would be like to have one of her own one day. Someday, Alex sighed wistfully and set the award on the table in front of her. She opened the first album and smiled as she looked at her grandmother's pictures. So many Hollywood legends captured in time. She lazily flipped through the first album and got lost in the second album. Slater found her like that half an hour later. He was just getting home from a gig and was surprised to find her awake. He hadn't seen her in about a week. His immediate reaction was to get suspicious, and he blurted out the first thought that came to his mind. "Are you waiting up for me?" he asked defensively. Alex looked at him over her shoulder. She hadn't even heard him come in. She was so engrossed in what she was doing. She rolled her eyes at him and stated sarcastically, "Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing. Lighten up." She looked away and smiled to herself, then turned back to him suddenly, and a high-pitched, nagging tone shrieked, "Where the hell have you been? Do you know what time it is? I was worried sick. Ever hear of a goddamn phone?" It made her giggle as she saw his expression go from distrustful to humor. "Shit." Slater shook his head with a grin. "I have heard that one too many times before." He walked into the living room where he saw photo albums spread over the coffee table. Taking a seat on the chair next to the couch, he gestured towards the photos in the Academy Award. "What's all this?" "Just taking a little trip down memory lane. I couldn't sleep." She looked at him and asked, "How was your gig?" "It was great." "Oh, smells like it." Alex snickered and put a finger under her nose. "Hey," Slater protested. Booze, cigarettes, and BO. She inhaled deeply and exhaled dramatically, the smell of success. "Believe me, you have no idea how grateful I am to know I have a place to shower after a gig. Well, you can show your gratitude by putting that shower to use immediately. I was planning on it. I wasn't planning on finding you awake when I got back. Are you going to be up for a while?" "I'm wide awake," she responded with a quick nod. She watched as he stood up and walked toward the bathroom and yelled after him playfully, "Don't forget to use the soap," then laughed when he flipped her off with a smile. He joined her 20 minutes later and pointed at the beer on the coffee table in question. "That's for you," Alex confirmed. He thanked her and sat down, opened it up, and took a sip. "What?" he questioned as she continued to smile at him. "Big, tough-looking guy like you smells like lavender. It's cute." "It's all you have in there. What was I supposed to use?" "I think there's some regular soap around here that we can find for you." He wasn't about to tell her that he liked the smell of her lavender soap, so he changed the subject. He pointed to the Academy Award and asked, "Can I hold it?" She nodded and picked it up and passed it to him. "Isn't it beautiful?" He held it and tested the weight of it. Looking at the detail of the statue and the engraving on it with her grandmother's name in the category of Best Musical Film Score. "It's awesome." He passed it back to her and watched Alex looking at it like he imagined she would look at a lover. He wouldn't mind her looking at him with that kind of longing in those pretty eyes. "I desperately want one of these. One day." She ran her fingers over it and sighed. "You know, Grams wouldn't let many people hold this, but when I would visit her over the summer, she would let me practice my acceptance speech while I did." He smiled at her, picturing her as a child acting out a dream. "She indulged me so much when I would come here, and she would play along with me." She laughed a little as she remembered. "She would play the introduction music on the piano. I would come in from the other room, smiling and waving at the audience, and then I would hold this and give my speech." Slater smiled with her. "Let's hear the speech." "It was different every time because I won for a different movie every time." She remembered a silly little moment with it once. "To all the little people I stepped on the way up, thank you. But of course, you have to start an acceptance speech with, 'I'd like to thank the Academy.'" Alex gently put the award back on the table. Slater reached forward and grabbed something off the table. "Is this your yearbook?" "Yes," she said. "Senior year, go Tigers." He opened it up and flipped through the pages. Wow, Little Miss Popular. Why do you say that? She wondered. Every single page is signed with, "Good luck, Alex. Hollywood awaits you. Don't forget me when you're rich and famous." I didn't give a shit about getting a yearbook. I just wanted to get out. Well, it's funny to go through that and see what everyone wrote. I rarely keep in touch with people from high school now. I couldn't care less about anyone from high school, or for that matter. Was it that bad? Alex asked quietly. Nodding in silence, Slater continued flipping through the yearbook when he found her senior picture and turned it to her with a grin. Alex rolled her eyes with a grimace. "I hated that picture." "Why?" he asked. "You look pretty." "Because it's so formal. Look at everyone else's picture." She pointed out a few others on the page. "They're colorful and silly, and mine is so stuffy." "My parents insisted on this type of picture because it's what our family did," she said, making air quotes. "I don't know why the hell they insisted on the tradition, because I was only a child, and it still irritates me." "You don't care for your parents?" he wondered. "No, I love them because they're my parents, but we're not particularly close. I've always been convinced I was delivered to them by a stork. They're so cold and formal with each other, I can't imagine them getting sweaty and having sex to create me." She laughed and looked at him. "I know I was produced out of some dumb sense of duty. They were and still are so concerned with society and having a good reputation." "Well, how did they feel about you wanting to run off to Hollywood and become famous?" "Well, they were mortified. Grams was on my side, so they supported it, but still, I have to go by their rules." "Yeah, sounds familiar," he said dryly and reached for his beer. Alex took a sip of her wine and smiled at his sense of humor. "I had to get straight A's in high school and finish college. If that was followed through with, they said that they would let me come here and give it a shot, and they would support me financially. When my grandmother passed away, I had 2 years of college left. Grams left me her condo, and I transferred to the university out here. My parents weren't too thrilled about me moving in here so quickly, but I just wanted to get the hell out of that house and out of Colorado." "What was wrong with the house?" "Well, it was too big and formal. It always felt like a museum in there." "And what was wrong with Colorado?" "No ocean and too much snow," she answered. Slater sat back against the sofa cushions and considered her situation. "So your parents just send you money?" Alex confirmed his curiosity with a nod. "My father deposits money into my bank account on the 1st of every month. I stay dutiful by calling them every Sunday. Daddy's easy to talk to. He couldn't be my grandmother's son without some form of a personality. Mother, on the other hand, is cold, stiff, and formal. I have no idea what my dad saw in her, and I pray to God I never turn out like her." She averted her eyes, became quiet after that statement. After a moment, she looked up at Slater. "That's just disrespectful to say, isn't it?" "No," he answered, "not if it's what you feel. Seems to me that you're more like your grandmother than either one of your parents." That made Alex smile. "I'll take that as a compliment." She took a chance and asked him, "Were you ever close with anyone in your family?" He surprised himself by answering her. Normally he would shut that topic down immediately, but Alex made him feel comfortable, like she cared. And above all, she didn't treat him like he was a worthless loser. She was easy to talk to. "No, my stepfather was a controlling asshole who hit my mother. The one time I tried to intervene in that, my mother got mad at me and said I just didn't understand. My sister is a fucking robot who does whatever our mom tells her to do." He shrugged off the irritation he was starting to feel about his upbringing and found himself opening up to her more. "Our lives were the church," he stated simply. Music was off limits unless it was church music. With a snort of laughter and a shake of his head, he shared a memory with her. "I would hear music at school." His voice became soft, dreamlike as he heard the melodies in his head, the Stones, the Beatles. "I had this radio hidden in my bedroom that I bought from some loser jock at high school. That night, when everyone was asleep, I would turn it on low and listen to music." Slater blinked back to the moment, remembering what happened to his radio. "My stepfather caught me with it on Christmas Eve and he destroyed it." Alex's heart broke a little, hearing him talk about his past, feeling a spark of anger at the cruelty of his stepfather. "He tried to beat the shit out of me that night, but Size was on my side and I fought back. He never laid a hand on me again." He finished his beer and set the bottle on the table. "Music became my outlet, but the only way I could have it in my life was in church, so I started playing piano for the services. I knew then I had to be on stage someday." Okay, so we're going to stop there because we're out of time. And obviously in the next video, we'll pick up where we left off. So I hope you enjoyed In Bed with Brooke, episode 10. As always, please leave me a positive comment. Please share with your friends. And I will leave in the comments where to buy both of my books on Amazon and my personal website. Thanks for watching.